Sometimes a photograph is very good because someone looks at you. It gives you the feeling that you're there. The person who looks at the photograph sees, this is the moment. But very often, yes, I try to just be the fly on the wall and just capture whatever happens without interfering.
Street Unplugged by the Streetphoto Collective Luxembourg.
Hello everybody, welcome to this ninth episode of our podcast series Streets Unplugged from the Street Photography Luxembourg Collective. I'm Paulo Lobo. I'm very pleased to be here with you and especially with our guests of today. It's someone some of you probably know, Dirk Mevis. Hello, Dirk. Dirk? Is it Dirk or Dirk?
Hello. I don't know really. I mean, I always tell people what I think they are the most comfortable with saying.
Okay, so Dirk.
Yes, say Dirk. That's fine.
So thank you for accepting our invitation for this small conversation. And we have with us also Patrick Hoffman and Eric Engel. Helping us with the technique. So I won't forget to name them. And also I mustn't forget to name the place where we are recording the podcast. It's the usual place. It's the Bonneweger Stuf. And we are very happy that they always welcome us with such warmth. So, Dirk, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, who are you? That's the big question, big first question. And then especially, what's this passion of photography, photography? Where did it come from? Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes. So who am I? I don't know, really. So I was born in Luxembourg. I have another profession besides photography. But I'm very passionate about photography and I've always been. I had contact with photography quite early on with my father and my family in general being very interested in the medium. So I've been taking pictures as a little kid with my parents' cameras. And then all throughout my life, on and off. And then, of course, during high school years, it became a little less. And at university, but it was still present. And the big push came when I went to the US for professional reasons. There I got to know a lot of people that were very much into photography and in particular street photography. And this kind of rekindled my enthusiasm and yes. And I've kept it ever since.
Where it's the spark.
Yes.
It became a fire.
Yes.
And tell us, you are one of the founders of the collective, of our collective, back to 2012 or 13, I guess. Is it right?
Yes, actually, I'm not one of the founders, but I joined very early on.
Yeah.
Back in 2011 or 12, when I came back from the US, I obviously had this very strong interest in street photography. But there wasn't much else around. So there was Flickr back then. I don't know if anyone remembers, but that was the platform. And there was not much of a Luxembourgish community. And back then, Paul contacted me.
Paul Bindner.
And I don't know. So one thing happened after the other, and so we ended up with this collective.
Yeah.
Organizing little events and mostly trying to get together and trying to join forces in our common pursuit of photography.
Okay. Was this important? I mean, the fact that you joined a collective, because if I understand, till then you were a little bit on your own, or maybe not in the States.
I had kind of a community in the US, but then I came back to Luxembourg and I didn't really know anyone who was doing this. And then, yes, of course, it's easier if you're not alone. If you can join others and who share the passion, who you can nerd off with, and who you can discuss pictures with, and also it gives the thing you're doing a certain importance.
Okay.
You know, if you're just doing it on your own, then at some point you're thinking like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But if you know there's others who also care about this, then you know this just gives it a little
Okay.
different, slightly different status.
What has changed in these 10 years? I mean, the collective was founded in 2011. We are in 2023. From your point of view, what has changed in Luxembourg in relation with the practicing of street photography?
Ooh, a lot of things. So one important thing, of course, is the advent of social media, Instagram. Basically, everyone photographs everything around themselves all the time now. So, you know, it introduces a lot of new elements in what used to be a very nerdy thing. Then Luxembourg has become much bigger, more international. 10 years ago, when I would go to the city center in lunch break, I would always see the same people. I would always be worried that there's people from my work, and I'm holding my lens in their face. So you know that it kind of inhibited me from taking pictures. Nowadays, there's so many crazy people around. I mean, seriously, you have to just walk in the city center in lunch break and open your eyes. It's crazy, and there's obviously a lot of material. I mean, I'm sorry to say it like that, but there's a lot of things going on that are kind of worth considering with your camera.
Yeah, we have experienced the evolution from not a small town, but a very quiet town towards, as you say, a very cosmopolitan town, and also with lots of accidents. I mean, in the Quartier Gare, for example, the atmosphere has completely changed in a few years. So, as you say, things are happening today that we didn't even think about a few years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk about your way of going into the street and your way of looking at things. What are you looking for? How do you prepare yourself whenever you want to shoot some pictures in the streets, in the urban space? What is your focus?
Are we talking technique or?
I mean, the question is open, so it's up to you. What motivates you?
So I think since I change all the time, I'm not the same I was 10 years ago. The way I take photographs is not the same that it was 10 years ago. So early on, I was very much inspired by all these American documentary photographers like Robert Frank and Walker Evans and so on. And this kind of gave me this more sociological, or how do you say that? Like, you know, I was just interested and I wanted to see and capture what I see and, you know, give me like a moment to look at what I saw and think about it. Then later, I really very much like this British humoristic view on street photography. And now, I don't know, I think I've become a bit more calm, a bit more quiet. I don't really, you know, need to get into people's face anymore. Lately, I've been trying very much to focus on composition, to not care about what's going on, but just trying to get the image right, just as a mental exercise for myself. And then not care so much about what comes out, but then later just see, you know, did something come out or not. That's what I'm doing right now more. And it's very gratifying for myself, so I really enjoy that. I think, you know, since we talked about social media, one of the things that it does, which I don't like so much, is it distracts you from taking photographs. I mean, it's a good medium to kind of connect. But if you're trying to, to get likes or to get liked, then it's kind of a distraction from taking photographs. And so right now I'm trying to slow down and trying to just not care and focus on some basic things like composition or colors,
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
When looking at your pictures, I've been following you for a long time, so yes, I can sense this difference, this evolution. But we also always have the feeling of a physical feeling of the place, and of the framing. We can really look through your eyes and think about the framing you are proposing us and the composition. This is something I feel when I look at your pictures. I always have the feeling I am looking through your eyes. So.
Like the fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is something. It has always impressed me, and like many others, I'm also a photography nerd. I just like how stuff looks on pictures. It's just like something that excites me. And and then the next step is, I sometimes, you come this feeling where you get outside in the morning in June, and you just smell the first time, and it smells a bit like summer or something. This kind of atmosphere. That's also something that impresses me. And so, one of the things that that always that I've always tried to achieve, maybe was to capture that and to put that into pictures. And that's why I'm very mindful about distractions, because distractions, they keep you from doing that, because then you have this thing like, oh, I need to capture two guys who do funny things in the street or something, that you're not open to what's around you.
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
And that's something that matters to me, and also that I want to have in my photographs, and with more or less success.
True. That's what I appreciate in your pictures. It's they are not focused on the big things or big accidents or big anecdotes. How do you say in English? Anecdotes, stories that are spectacular. But you are very interested in small things, small details, small gestures. Also the way the light is falling on people and on the place. So that's what I meant when I was saying before that we are really very sensitive to your way of seeing and feeling things. Okay. You never. It's seldom the case in your photos that people are looking into the camera. You are very attached to this notion of candid moment.
That may be true. I don't know. I mean, sometimes a photograph is very good because someone looks at you. It gives you the feeling that you're there. The person who looks at the photograph sees, this is the moment. But very often, yes, I try to just be the fly on the wall and just capture whatever happens without interfering. This is, I mean, yeah, it's part of this, experiencing the moment and experiencing what's going on and conveying that, or how I feel it or how I see it, rather than setting it up or trying to construct a narrative that that's someone else's style. It's not mine.
Are you working on series? Do you think on basis of series of pictures or?
I would say more and more. I mean, the problem with street photography is obviously that it can be just a collection of individual pictures, and then maybe the bigger theme is our society or our town or I don't know, Luxembourg 2022, but it's still quite a vague connection between the different pictures. But more and more I'm trying to, or I have ideas and try to get into storytelling and creating more more complex, more complex series that have an internal connection, where the individual image has less weight and the whole thing has a slightly bigger weight. Yes.
And where can we see this series? Is the social networks? Is this the good place for showing the series, or how do you do it?
Obviously not. Social networks are meant to connect to other people. They're not meant to. The format is just not made for that, in my view. But of course, some elements of individual series are on social networks. So I post pictures that are part of something else. Yeah. But then on the social networks, they take on a different meaning. They take on the meaning of one individual picture, which in a few weeks will no longer be visible in any stream or feed.
Will be forgotten. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, but that's an issue. How do you get this together? And I don't know. I mean, especially usually classic, or in a classic fashion, you would say, okay, you need to make a book. I think that is difficult more and more. So you need to establish that. So that's also something I'm thinking of to how to create platforms that actually foster the storytelling by photographers, and give them a place to put their work. So I have a lot of projects.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about some projects which are going on, or is it too
No,
too secret?
I can. It's just like, since there's nothing concrete tomorrow, I'm a bit hesitant, but obviously I can talk about this. So one project is a series of zines that we plan to bring out with a number of people who are also involved in the Street Photo Collective, and which would provide a platform like that, not in the form of a book necessarily at this stage, but to start off with smaller projects in the form of a zine. And so this is fairly concrete. We plan to have some first output maybe for the Street Photo Festival that the collective organizes.
Which will happen in May.
Will happen in May, so mark your calendars. So there's something coming up, but I don't know if I can be more specific right now, because I don't want to put unnecessary pressure.
So keep tuned.
Stay
tuned. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. You do mostly color pictures, but also black and white. Usually, if I'm not wrong, black and white is more analog pictures, or am I wrong?
No, I recently heard a quote from a very nice street photographer from New York, Ruben Redding, who said black and white is for the winter. So okay. I took his advice. I bought a lot of black and white film, and shot a lot of black and white during the winter. But I think in general, I'm a color guy. Apparently, I'm colorblind. So
that's new.
No. So when you do these tests for the driving license, the result was, and it's consistent. It's just I have to deal with it. But so I guess one thing that you see in my pictures is also the fact that I see the world a bit differently from you, and that's how.
Yeah, because I associate you a lot with color pictures, and I always say that I myself have a little bit problem shooting in color, so black and white for me is easier. Yeah. But so I admire a lot of people that are really consistent in their way of looking at the world and using color. Yeah. And really, I recognize your style, not only from the framing, from the composition, from the moment, the candid moment, but also the way you treat the color and the light, of course.
Well, it's just an additional language, no? So black and white, you have one dimension of information. You have the lightness contrast. If you add color, you have also color contrast, so you have another dimension to deal with. I don't think it's magic. It's just a matter of getting used to, and
But in Luxembourg, people say usually, in Luxembourg, it's not a good place for color. But you would say the contrary, probably. Because lots of your pictures, good pictures, are taken in Luxembourg and are in color.
I think that's just an opinion, I don't know, but what does it mean? It's not a good place for color. It means we don't have yellow bananas in the trees. Okay, sure, I agree. But in the end, you still have a certain color palette in Luxembourg, and if you choose to depict that, or if you don't choose to depict that, that's your choice. It's not. I don't know if you can say good or bad. It's just different.
It reminds me of Rigouria, when he was here, and he released a book now lately, or a few years after his passage in Luxembourg, about Belgium, and it was in color, I think. No, because he said at one moment that he was taking pictures in Belgium in black and white because he couldn't see color in his use, and in the meantime he found the color also in Belgium. And lots of his iconic pictures are in color, are taken in Belgium.
I always thought Belgium has great colors. No, seriously, it's really something I thought physically in my mind, or physically I thought of.
Sometimes we have to go away from our place,
but that's
just to have
exactly a point. So one thing, when I was in the US, I was on some Luxembourg photo site. I'm not going to say the name, and I posted pictures, obviously, from where I was, and a lot of the pictures were from the US. I did one series, for example, back then on a boxing club. So they had in Washington, D.C., a boxing club for kids from lower social classes, where they kind of took them off the streets and they gave them boxing lessons and they took them to competitions. And so that was really cool. And here, a lot of people liked those pictures, not necessarily, I think, because they were good pictures, but mostly, I think, because they were something that they had not seen. So there's this exotic element. And sometimes you need that to be motivated to take pictures, because, when you walk around in the city and you've seen the city all the time for the last 30 years, then, okay, maybe there's some not so much exciting stuff a priori for you there. But then, maybe something else triggers you to get an interest in taking pictures and an interest in color, and then you come back and you say like, okay, there is a certain color palette here, and maybe I just didn't see it, or I just didn't, like that. For example, recently I've been very much into Fred Herzog. I don't know if you know the guy.
Yes,
he's a
Canadian.
German who moved to Canada, and so what's very striking in his pictures are all these colorful light signs that he photographed back in the 60s in Canada. And he's German. He came from the Schwäbische Alb. So he was used to no color at all. And then he comes to Canada and he sees all these big signs and these colorful sidewalks and all that stuff. And so he was like, whoa, this looks so cool. I need to take pictures of it. So, in his job, he took pictures of teeth. He was a tooth technician or something. And so this was something that motivated him and that got him out on the street and got him to pick up a camera. So, sometimes you just need something to trigger that.
Trigger you, and it can be the being inspired by some work from another photographer or from another artist. Because you have mentioned a lot of photographers, so you love this. I mean, the photographic culture.
Yeah, of course. I think so. I mean, are you really a photographer if you don't care about other people's photography? I mean, to me, it's like a language. So obviously, if you like writing in French, don't you have an interest in French literature? It's like, or also for the nerdy parts, like, how do you put something, or how do other people do it? How do they tell a story? And then, of course, you think of yourself and how would I put a story? And,
Good.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us a little bit where our people, our listeners can have a look at your pictures. I mean, Instagram, of course, but you have also an internet website, or?
Yeah. So You know, the usual problems. So I have one Adobe site. It's I guess on the Instagram page you find links to most sites. But I'm also working on a new website under my name dirkmevis.lu, which is already online, but it's not yet perfectly organized. But there I try to organize things more in projects and in meaningful subsets of work, because I've been taking pictures for forever. So I have so much material that the difficult part now is more to kind of put it together and to organize it, to get something out of it, rather than taking the picture per se, although that's the fun part. But
Okay, good. You also experience a lot with the cameras. I understood. No, with the medium format, with the analog cameras.
Yeah, so I'm a nerd.
You assume yourself as a nerd.
No,
yeah,
I'm
but
just,
in contact with
I'm just
others,
honest.
with other nerds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I take a lot of photos with film, and I've done that in 2012. I'm doing it now. It's something that comes back and goes away again, because film, it is a bit more tiresome. So you have to do more things before you get a picture in the end. But it's just awesome. I don't know if you look. Recently, I took a couple of pictures with the large format camera, and if you blow them up, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I post them on Instagram, which is ridiculous because your phone is smaller than the negative. But the potential that you have is just unbelievable.
What's good is there is a new big interest towards analog pictures.
Yeah.
So
It's good
we're not alone.
It's good and not good, because film is sold out all the time. So
Yeah, that's true. And prices are getting higher.
I can say for medium format and large format, it's not sold out all the time.
No.
So that's good.
That's the advice you give. So go to medium format and large format.
Yeah,
you won't
so,
have problems finding the film.
I have a couple of 35mm cameras, but to be honest, to get 35mm film to look really good, it's a lot of work, and probably some people will never manage. So if you want quick gains, go for medium format.
The big
because
picture.
there you really, it's very obvious, it's very clear, and it's easy to achieve.
Okay.
In comparison.
One last comment about actually, the pictures I asked you to choose, a small selection of pictures. Yeah. So maybe because we will post them together with the podcast, that the people can have a look at them. So which are these pictures?
Obviously, I don't have prints, so I have to look
show
at
them. Yeah, shows me
at my phone, and I have to pull them up first. I don't even know. I think what I sent you was mostly street photographs from 2022, 2022, and maybe 2021 a little bit.
But as you said, it's mostly street photography. It's actually mostly what you do. It's street photography. You have other kinds of pictures or subjects that interest you. I mean.
Yes, of course. Street photography is my bread and butter. It's what I do on a daily basis, I would say.
Okay.
Because I just, in lunch break, I very often just take out the camera and walk around.
You don't need a commission. You don't need
exactly,
someone to tell you go and do.
And it's a little bit, it's a bit like hunting. Although I don't like that term, because it makes you look like a hunter, sleazy guy who wants to take something from other people. But
peeping Tom.
Let's say it's like looking for gold.
It's better.
You walk around, and sometimes you find a nugget, and every day you think like, oh, maybe today I'll find an even bigger one. And it's
a better comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and no, I think actually it's a good one, because you cannot force it. So no one can. Bruce Gilden cannot force it.
Yeah.
He's only great because he took a lot of pictures, and
Yeah.
then he has a few that are great.
That's what everybody will tell you. Those
Yeah.
great street photographers.
I
You
think
have
so,
to
yeah.
do. You have to walk in the streets
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
open your eyes. Yeah.
And then one thing, if I can give advice
Yeah.
to people who are not photographing for such a long time, it would be mostly, learn to cut out pictures. Learn to get rid of stuff.
Okay.
If it's half good, it's not good.
Okay.
So that's really, really very, very important, and it's often overlooked that you can post everything nowadays, and it's very attracting, very it's very tempting to post everything because it's easy.
That's also the pressure the social networks are putting on
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
We have to feed them.
That's the distraction.
That's a distraction. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
distraction.
So your advice is to be more strict on our own pictures.
Yes, be disciplined, be honest with yourself, and and sometimes, of course, we have some. And sometimes, of course, it's not easy to be strict on yourself, and sometimes you're changing your mind afterwards, and that's okay.
Yeah,
You
okay.
cannot foresee the future, but most of the time, when in doubt, don't post.
Don't post. Okay, that's an important advice. So we found your pictures now, thanks to
Okay.
Patrick.
Yes.
So that's how many? 10 pictures, I think.
I think you said between 6 and 10, so
6 and 10.
I just chose a couple without any specific order.
Okay.
So there's one picture of a guy who was doing some kind of weird yoga in the park, and
Okay.
he did it in between two trash cans, and I just
Very interesting. The
there's
position,
so
the
many
placement.
so many questions, and then he had also his jacket just underneath
Below.
him, which looked like he had pooped it out or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, but it was just too good to pass up. So
Yeah. It's
I mean, you can say, okay, I stole that picture from him, but on the other hand, why is the guy in the middle of the park without t-shirt doing yoga? I don't know. I mean, so somehow there's this. I take a picture of the public space. There's someone who's providing himself in the public
In the
space.
public
So
space,
what.
it's a give and receive.
It's
You
an
give, I receive.
Yeah, yes. So I'm just basically documenting.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look very quickly at some others. So we just to play with the light.
Yeah. So there's this kind of almost desaturated picture. This I took actually in Nicosia in Cyprus, in the Turkish part of the capital. I was there last year, and it's just a crazy place.
Okay.
I mean, if you, with all the war and everything going on, this is occupied territory. People somehow try to deal with it, and if you look at it, you see that it's not a normal situation for people to be in. So someone somewhere has some ideas about what belongs to him and what doesn't, and what policies should be. And then there's the other side. There's the people who live there and who try to make a living. And so it was a place that was very impressive for me. So I took a lot of pictures there too.
Okay. This also.
This is also there's a picture of a couple of guys playing at the sea. This is in Paphos, also in Cyprus, and here, obviously, the chill atmosphere, the almost adult guys playing around and having a fun moment in the sun was something that I found impressive.
And perfectly graphical. I mean.
Yeah, so I mean, it's my thing lately, like color, composition, these kinds of things.
Okay. Small exchange moment in some exotic place.
Yeah, so one thing I always like very much in street photography, but I'm not very good at actually. But we have some people in the collective, like Marc, who is very good at that, is to put together random things into a composition that kind of makes sense compositionally, and then gives a new meaning to things. It's a very difficult, let's say, genre of street photography, but I really love that we have these people, and you know, that they make good work, because it's always fun, and so I try to make one of those. And
the richness of diversity.
This was in Budapest, in the Castle District.
Well, we don't have that much. It's a little bit the same approach, color, composition, moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I'm not even going to talk about it. Just red and yellow.
We were in Luxembourg.
Yes, and I mean, I saw the trash cans, and I thought, like, this would be cool if someone would walk past in yellow.
Okay, and it
or
happened.
in red, and then, you know,
It happened.
It happened, both of them.
Okay,
like,
the miracle of the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this I like. I mean, it's
The strangeness of composition and of the people where they are placed.
exactly. And so this is a picture at the tram stop, and actually, one thing that intrigued me was the guy who's on the phone, because there's obviously something going on.
He looks very
Or
concerned.
not. Yeah, who knows? And I think this is one of the pictures that work better when they're big, blown up, because it's the details that matter. It's a picture where you have to look at for a while, and, you know, enjoy the details, and then
ask yourself
the drama
questions.
starts working.
What's
yes,
happening? Yeah. Okay.
It's another thing with social networks. I have to say that, you know, because your screen is so small that you look at it,
And then you
those pictures that work the best are those that have a very strong contrast or a very stark element somehow. But, you know, it's not a medium really for nuance.
For nuance, no.
nuanced,
It's not a medium where people are doing all the time like this, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, it's also a beautiful personage.
Yeah, so this is just a street portrait.
Yeah.
This one I didn't ask. Usually I ask for street portraits, but sometimes if you would, then you would destroy the atmosphere.
Yeah, he would look at the camera, actually, and he would be
and then
in a relation with you and not in his thoughts.
it becomes something very different. So this was just some guy in the tram.
Okay, maybe a last one, and then...
So what attracted me here in the first place was the light. That actually bounced off one of the buildings in the city center. And then some other person walked into... So I took like 15, 20 pictures here.
Okay.
And then some other person walked into the frame, and
it happened.
It
It
added,
worked.
for me, it added like another layer of contrast. And
so you spotted the place,
and
you waited and you tried.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's invite listeners to go to our Instagram account and maybe our website also to have a look at this series. Well, in the meantime, we are getting close to the end of our podcast. So it was very interesting talk with you, Dirk. Thank you very much, because we have a little bit more insight into your approach. And also lots of advice. So one very important: be more strict on your pictures. You know, do not show everything.
I'm trying to be, you know, to figure out my negative sides lately. You know, like write them down just to figure it out. And so one of them is that I'm a know-it-all, and I'm sorry if I've been too much of a know-it-all, but you know this.
So okay.
Yeah.
So you are a little bit auto-criticizing yourself.
I think it's important.
It's important. Okay.
So you know, if there's advice, you know, take it or not. It's up to you. But you know, it's just
well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's very, very nice that you have had this chat with us. Thank you very much to Patrick, to Eric for the technique, and to Eric's brother for the remix of the podcast. And see you very soon in another series of adventures in the streets, and especially our festival, which will be soon, but we will come back to the festival very soon with a special podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.